All right, and we are back here on the GSMC football podcast. And for the final part of the show, we're just going to take a look at the NFL power rankings that were released. Again, usually just go to the NFL mobile app and just kind of look at the power rankings and just kind of like, talk about what I agree with, what I disagree with. But yeah, so we'll kind of just run through the bottom half quickly. So the Panthers are at 32. I mean, no surprise there. Regular season was pretty rough for them. Bryce Young's rookie season really did not go as planned. And again, there were some people there that wanted C.J. Stroud, but Dave Tepper wanted Bryce Young. So we'll see what happens next year. But yeah, Panthers were at 32. Commanders at 31. It's interesting because I honestly thought Sam Howell looked like he was going to be the guy, and then it just completely fell off. They just completely fell off, and he was throwing interceptions. It just not a good end for Sam Howell, and it looks like Washington's probably going to draft another quarterback, and we'll see what ends up happening with Sam Howell. But yeah, they're at 31. The Patriots at 30. Yeah, rough season for them. I mean, I just talked about it in the last segment. That's why I said probably wouldn't be the place Justin Fields wants to go to if he does get traded. Like I said, Patriots got a lot of work to do. Cardinals, listen, Kyler Murray came back. And they won a couple of good games. I mean, they had the win against the Falcons in Murray's debut for the season, and that was exciting. Also going on the road and beating the Eagles in Philadelphia and continuing the Eagles' downward spiral. They got some work to do as well, but it seems like they're going to stick with Kyler to be the quarterback moving forward. And who knows? Maybe they end up with a wide receiver like Marvin Harrison Jr. in the draft, depending on what they do. The Giants at 28. Listen, they were competitive down the stretch. They beat the Eagles. They were competitive against the Rams. So I at least like that. Hopefully that carries over into next season, but you can't really say that it's going to do that just because it's a new year. But I think this is next year is a big year for both Joe Shane and Brian Dable. They got to turn this thing around because if they don't and it ends up being worse, especially because also with all the stuff with Wing Martindale and the falling out that him and Brian Dable had, they got to get this right. So the Falcons at 27, finishing at 7-10. I feel like they should be a little bit higher because they have. I don't know how they did these rankings, but they have the Titans ahead of them. They also have the Chargers ahead of them, the Jets ahead of them. I think the Falcons should be a little bit higher. I mean, listen, they had their chances. They could have won the division. It was a weak division, the NFC South. I mean, how many weeks did we spend talking about that division and who was going to win that? Thankfully, I was happy the Bucs won it. But yeah, team's got a lot of talent. Could be a team that looks to try to get Justin Fields, like I said, which I think would be a good fit just because they have playmakers on offense. And we'll see how it is with the new head coach. The Chargers at 25. Just a lot of injuries this year. And, the Brandon Staley tenure, ended with a thud after, the Raiders put up 60 points against them. And now they bring in Jim Harbaugh. And, that's it. Again, this team has a lot of work to do, especially with the cap situation. Who are they going to keep? What veterans are going to end up on the chopping block if they're cut or traded? There's a lot of work to do there. But if they can get it right, listen, this team could be a sneaky team going into next year. Maybe contend for a wild card spot. Because, again, I mean, they got the quarterback. And if you keep most of the guys on offense and you could somehow retool the defense, because the defense was, pretty bad this year. If they could figure that out, I think this team can make an immediate turnaround, especially because, wherever Harbaugh goes, I mean, listen, he wins. So, and then you got the Jets at 24. Listen, they finished with the same record this year as they did last year, which is honestly, kind of crazy to think about just because of everything that happened this year. You would have thought they probably would have ended up finishing with the worst record because, they had to start Tim Boyle and Trevor Siemian along with Zach Wilson after Aaron Rodgers went down. But, they finished 7-10. And let's see what happens next year. Can they fix this offensive line? Maybe get another weapon or two for Rodgers to throw to on the offensive side of the ball? Because you have the defense. You just got to prioritize fixing this offense, building a stone wall around Aaron Rodgers because, listen, it takes another hit He might get hurt again. And for me, I don't want to see that because I want to see him end on a high note. But I'm not. I don't have a ton of confidence right now, if I'm going to be honest. And I want to have confidence that he's going to come back and play well next year. But right now, until the Jets, fix this offensive line and get some more playmakers to go along with Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall, I don't know. So 23 is the Broncos. We'll see what they do at the quarterback position. Still haven't made an official move on Russell Wilson, but his time is up, with the Broncos pretty much. I mean, at least that's what I think. But again, we'll wait and see. The Vikings at 22. It's unfortunate, because of, again, Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins, they stay healthy. This team started to get hot at the right time, but then injuries happened. So, and actually, Kirk Cousins started balling out. Justin Jefferson was hurt. So who knows what would have happened. But we'll see what they do at the quarterback position if Kirk Cousins ends up coming back, if he goes elsewhere. The Bears at 21 is finishing 7-10. Played better down the stretch. Lost some close games. And I just talked about if Justin Fields gets traded, possible places he can end up. This is a big offseason for the Bears. The Raiders finishing 8-9, played a lot better with Antonio Pierce as the head coach, and let's see what they do with quarterback. That's the biggest question going into the offseason, because the defense played better. You still got playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. They need that quarterback if they're going to want to contend in their division, because you got Herbert, you got Mahomes. The Broncos, let's see what they do with the quarterback position. The Raiders, they got to figure it out. The Seahawks at 19. They just missed out on the playoffs. Geno Smith wasn't as good as he was the previous season. This is another team that needs to upgrade a quarterback. Because, again, you have the roster. You just need the quarterback. Maybe you go back and get Russell Wilson, and Russ turns back the clock and turns back into the Seattle Russ. Well, again, that's just that's not going to happen. But because I only said that because I saw people on social media, I think that were Seahawk fans, saying we should have kept Russ, but I don't know, whatever. So the Bengals are at 18. Joe Burrow getting hurt, that derailed their season. And who knows, if the Bengals made the playoffs and a healthy Burrow, who knows what would have happened. But so they finished at 9-8. Sorry, holding back a sneeze. Again, that happens at least like once or twice, on the show. Also, my allergies are acting up again, because this weird weather that we've been having. Well, it's cold weather because it finally snowed. And it was funny because it snowed like crazy here. Then I go into, my job in the city, and there was no snow on the ground. They cleared it out, and I wore boots. I wore boots for nothing. And I'm in my office, and or I'm at my job, and I'm sitting there with boots, and I was uncomfortable the whole night. But yeah, so hopefully we start getting that warm weather soon, once we get out of these winter months. But sorry, got sidetracked there. But anyways, the Bengals were at 18. Colts were I like to go off on tangents. I mean, I think a lot of people know this by now. But anyways, so the Colts at 17, let's see what happens with a full year of Anthony Richardson if he could stay healthy. Because he looked like he could be really good. It's just, again, got hurt. Jaguars at 16, a disappointing end to their season. Look, that was I thought the division was locked up pretty much, and then they just they collapsed down the stretch. So we'll see what happens next year. You got the Saints at 15. They played better the last couple games of the year, but it was too little, too late. We'll see if they could build off on that for next year. You got the Steelers at 14, finishing 10-8. Well, including the playoff loss to the Bills. Again, give the Mike Tomlin and the Steelers credit for at least getting there, but now they got to figure out the quarterback position. So, they're at 14. The Bucks are at 13. They won a playoff game, against the Eagles. I mean, the Eagles just that was such a bad playoff loss by the Eagles, who actually are at 10. But yeah, I mean, listen, the Bucks have a ton of free agents, so they're gonna have to try to bring back a lot of those guys. So yeah, they're at 13. The Rams at 12. Listen, that team's gonna be. I think the Rams are gonna be good next year. Again, a good free agency, a good draft, and they're gonna give people problems next year. Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, becoming star players on their team with Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford. You still got Aaron Donald on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah, team's gonna be good. Then you got the Dolphins at 11. Kind of a disappointing end to their season. I mean, in the beginning of the year, again, it was like, wow, this team is like insane on offense. Got track stars all over the place. But, kind of another disappointing end for them. Disappointing end for the Eagles, like I said. I mean, they start off 10-1, and you finish the regular season at 11-6, and then some of the worst tackling that I've ever seen. Against the Bucs in the playoff game. Got new coordinators, so we'll see how that translates to next year. Then 9, you got the Packers. Listen, I mean, they came close to beating the 49ers and playing against the Lions in the NFC Championship game, but they just fell a little bit short. So we'll see, what ends up happening next year. They take that next step. Had the youngest team in the NFL. Then you had the Browns at 8. Kevin Stefanski wins Coach of the Year. Can Deshaun Watson bounce back next year? Just have to wait and see. Then you also got the Texans at 7. They're going to be good next year. Another year with C.J. Stroud. In year 2, they're going to be a lot of fun to watch for years to come. Again, they were way ahead of schedule, winning a playoff game, winning the division. Credit to them. And then the top 6 is the Cowboys. Very disappointing end to their season. They were the 2 seed, get bounced out by the Packers. This was the year to get to the NFC Championship game, weak conference, and they weren't able to do it. And then in the top 5, got the Bills, the Lions, the Ravens, the 49ers, and, of course, the Chiefs at the top. The top 4 is the final 4 teams that were left. I mean, for the Bills, listen, the defense is getting older. I mean, we'll see what happens with Stephon Diggs. But, yeah, the Bills, they just can't take that next step. And, we'll see what happens next year with them. And, we'll keep an eye on the Stephon Diggs stuff, if he does, want out of Buffalo. But nothing's, confirmed yet. It's just all speculation. But yeah, the top 4, not really surprised by it. Well, I really shouldn't say that. It was the top 4 teams that were remaining, and the Chiefs obviously being at 1. They're the Super Bowl champs, so they deserve to be at 1. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about the power rankings. That's pretty much it with the show for today. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. We will be back again. Tomorrow, same time, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And until then, I'm Kenneth Gruenfelder, signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I will see you guys next time. Take care.